Hello, ladies and gentlemen of Algebra 2. We're talking about solving polynomials using division. So what you're looking at is using synthetic division, or long division. Synthetic division is going to be kind of the mainstay here. That's the one you really want in order to solve a polynomial. So taking a big polynomial and breaking it down into nothing but fact. So let's take a look. So you've got that this is the volume. The volume is length times width times height. You know that one of them is x minus 4. So figure out what the other ones are going to be. So what I want to do is I want to take and do synthetic division on this. So synthetic division. So I just take 1, 3, negative 36, 32. And my factor is x minus 4, so that's just going to be positive 4. Okay, remember, I set x minus 4 equal to 0 and solve it. So x equals 4, so that's what I use here. Then drop, multiply, add. Drop, multiply, add. So that's going to be negative 8. Drop, multiply, add. 0. All right, so when I divide that, this is my remainder. This is my constant. This goes with x. This goes with x squared. So putting this back into the form here is going to go x squared minus 7x, or plus 7x, minus 8, like that. Okay, so one of the factors is x minus 4. So now, can I try and factor this into an answer here? So, you know, you can do your x, well, multiplies to negative 8, but adds up to 7. Well, that means I have x plus 8, x minus 1. So my factor is going to be x plus 8, x plus 1. So my three factors that are going to make this are x minus 4, x plus 8, x minus 1. Don't worry about the equals 0. We're not trying to do that yet. All we're trying to do is break this down. All right? Two ways, you know, we saw this before. So long division, I'm going to take everything as it is. Z times z squared is going to, z times z gives you z squared. So I'm going to do that and that. Subtract. 2 minus, that's 6z. Z times 6 will give you 6z. Multiply, multiply. So that will give you 6z minus 24. But when I add that, I will get 0. So that factored is z plus 6. Now when I look at it synthetically, I just take 1, 2, negative 24. And remember, I set that equal to 0 and solve it. So z is going to equal 4. So I take 4. Drop, multiply, add. Drop, multiply, add. So this would be my remainder, constant x. So my answer is x plus 6, or in this case, z plus 6. So that would be doing it synthetically. So now solving, you're given one factor, and then write your answer in factored form. So try and solve it, try and factor it all the way down using synthetic division. So for number 1, I'm going to use 2, 15, 22, negative 15. And since it's x plus 3, I'm going to use negative 3. Okay, remember, set that equal to 0. Solve it, x equals negative 3. So that's what I want to use. So drop, multiply, add. So that's going to be 9. Multiply, add. So it would be negative 5. multiply, add, it's going to be 0. So now I'm left with 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. So now I've got to factor this. So I'm going to take 2 times negative 5. So what multiplies to negative 10 adds up to 9. Well, 10 and negative 1. So I want to rewrite this. I want to rewrite this as 2x squared plus 10x minus 5. So then parenthesis, 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 parenthesis. So I'll factor out here at 2x, be left with x plus 5. Over here I'll factor out negative 1, be left with x plus 5. So 2x minus 1 and x plus 5 is my answer. So my 3 factors is going to be x plus 3, 2x minus 1, x plus 5. So all that factoring comes back into play. Factoring does not go away. So for number 2, I need 1, negative 4, negative 31, 70, and since it's x minus 7, I want positive 7. So drop, multiply, add, drop, multiply, add, drop, multiply, and add, and I get 0. So x minus 7 is one factor. I am left with x squared plus 3x minus 10. Remember, remainder, constant, x squared. So then if I factor this thing, so what multiplies to negative 10 adds up to 3. So that's going to be 5 and negative 2. So my answer will just be x plus 5, x minus 2. So there are my fully factored answers there. And it's all with synthetic. And after a couple times working with synthetic, you get pretty good with it, and life gets easier. So given one factor, write division, then write it in factored form. So keep going. Same idea. This one's going to be a little bit trickier, though. Because, I'll show you here. So I want 6, I want a better color. 6, 29, negative 7, negative 10. But I don't want negative 1. That's something that a lot of kids would put. I got to set that equal to 0. So if I solve that, I end up with it being a negative 1/2. If I solve it. So solve it algebraically, subtract 1, divide by 2, blah, blah, blah. You actually want negative 1/2. Sorry, that's bothering me. So drop, multiply. So I get negative 3, add those two. So that's going to be 26, multiply, negative 13, add those two, negative 20, drop. So that's going to be positive 10, so that'll be 0. Okay, so what I'm left with here is this. I'm left with 6x squared plus 26x minus 20. Now, first rule of factoring, what I would do is try and pull out a number. So I'm going to try and pull out 2. I'll be left with 3x squared plus 13x minus 10. I'm going to factor this part. So I'm just going to drag this 2 along. Just give myself a little room to maneuver here. Okay. So let's factor that. So I wanted to figure out what multiplies to negative 30. It adds up to 13. Well, I'm going to go 15 negative 2. So I keep this 2. This becomes 3x squared plus 15x minus 2x minus 10. So parenthesis, 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 parenthesis. So 2, 3x. I'm left with x plus 5. Over here, pull out negative 2. You're left with x plus 5. So my full answer here, factored 2, 3x minus 2, x plus 5. That's what I have in addition to the 2x plus 1 up here. Okay? All right, so now let's look at this other one. So I have 6, I have negative 37, I have 30, I have 25. Here I'm actually going to want positive 5/3. So I'm going to want 5/3 drop. 6 times 5/3 is actually going to be 10. So when I add that, it's negative 27. So negative 27 times 5/3 is going to be negative 45. When I add that, that's negative 15 times 5/3 is going to be, sorry, I want 15. And that's going to be negative 25, which will be 0. So there's one factor. So now take what I have left and factor this. So what multiplies? 15 times 6 is going to be 90, I believe. So what multiplies to negative 90 but adds up to negative 27? Well, I like negative 30 and positive 3. So that'll be 6x squared minus 30x plus 3x minus 15. So it'll be 6x, x minus 5, plus 3, x minus 5. So my final answer here then is going to be 6x plus 3, x minus 5. Now I know some of you are going, hey, I could have factored out a 3 here. And you're right, you could have. But now take a look at the end here. I can factor out a 3 out of this first one, and it's still fine. So if I factor out a 3, I'll have 2x plus 1. I'll still have x minus 5. There's my answer. So fully factored, 3, 2x plus 1, x minus 5. So it doesn't matter if I factor out the number here or if I factor it out at the end. As long as I factor it, I'm good. All right, so volume of a rectangular prism is x cubed plus 3x squared minus x minus 3 cubic inches. The width is x plus 1. Find the length and the width. So here we go. Just doing what we've been doing. So now we're putting it into a context. Drop. Multiply. And that's going to give me positive 3. When I add that, I get 0. So it's going to be x squared plus 2x minus 3. So what multiplies to negative 3 adds up to 2? Well, 3, negative 1. So I'm going to have x minus 1, x plus 3. There's my answer. Boom. Same kind of idea here. Triangular sail is 16x to the 4th, 60x cubed, 28x squared, 56x minus 32. The height is x minus 4. What is the length of the base of the sail? Now, triangular. Triangles go like this, right? Area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So the area is this whole thing. My height is x minus 4. So minus 28x, 56x, minus 32. All that equals 1/2 times the base times x minus 4. So I've got this 1/2 I have to deal with. Now the easiest way to deal with that would be just to multiply both sides by 2. So now when I'm starting off my synthetic, I actually want to do this, 32. Then I want to take a negative 120. Then I want to take a negative 56. I want to take a positive 112. I want to take a negative 64. And I actually want to take 4, and I want to run that through it. Why did I double it? Because it's a triangle and I had to get rid of this 1/2, so I do it by multiplying both sides by 2. So now let's get after this. So 32 times 4 is going to be 128. So when I add that, I get 8. 8 times 4 is 32. Add that, you're going to get 24. 24 times 4 is going to be 96. Sorry, negative 96. So that's going to be 16. 16 times 4 is 64. So that's going to give me 0. So the length of the base of the sail is going to be this. So that's the constant, there's my remainder, x squared, x cubed. So it's going to be 32x cubed plus 8x squared minus 24x plus 16. There's my answer. Good problem. Make sure you study this one because there's one on the review like it and one on a quiz that looks a lot like it. So make sure you study this one. Realize I'd multiplied by 2 because it's a triangle, and in a triangle, area is half base times height. Okay, that's all I got. Come talk to me with questions, and have a good day.